Episode 135, Wayne Turmel. Good morrow, and welcome back to the Realm. I'm epic fantasy author J.V. Hilliard, your friendly neighborhood scribe. And today we've got a special guest. Not only is he a writer, he's a communications expert, but more importantly, he's the first stand-up comic that we've had on the show. Stay tuned and you'll find out who Wayne Turmel is and what he does. Wayne, let's dive right in. Welcome to the Realm.
Thank you for having me in the Realm.
My pleasure. I can't wait for this interview for a variety of reasons. You wear multiple hats, including not just the one you're wearing
Literally
today.
in this case.
Yeah, but let's start with the obvious one. A lot of our listeners and our viewers enjoy speculative fiction. Werewolves are a staple of that. Where do your werewolves come from, and what inspired you to write about werewolves?
The short answer is when I was 13, I was babysitting my cousin and saw Curse of the Werewolf with Oliver Reed. And any 13-year-old boy believes that there is a big hairy rage monster inside him. And so for some reason that resonated. So I've always loved werewolves. And then the Johnny Lycan series started initially because I had written 3 historical fiction novels and wanted to try my hand at something else. And I literally had a dream. I know that sounds artsy and insane, but I had this crazy dream about a werewolf fighting a Russian mobster. And from there, the idea of this young wannabe PI who happens to be a werewolf kind of took off from there.
You know, you're not the only ones had a dream that they've put it in their novels for. My main character was a dream that I had when I was 13, and it was a recurring nightmare that I had all the way through college. So that's a great origin story for what it is that we're talking about here. But one of the things that really interested me about your profile was you do much more than writing. You are a speaker and a communications expert. A lot of authors are introverts by nature. You're the opposite of that. Like, how did that happen? Do you find that as an advantage?
First of all, I've made an entire career out of people thinking I'm smarter than I am because of my ability to communicate. And I'm not being humble. One of the things when I got into presentation skills coaching is there are so many really bright, talented people who are so smart. But if you can't take what's in your head and transmit it to somebody else, it doesn't matter what you know.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. And I think a lot of authors, and I see this in book signings and at conventions, a lot of them are just introverted and it's hard for them to sell what they've written. So no one ever buys it. They don't know what's inside. And that's a shame because a lot of these folks are really talented and they could use your skills.
I've been speaking in public since I was 6 years old. I realized how important that is to how people recognize you. And then straight out of high school, I then spent the next 18 years as a stand-up comic. And when I had to leave stand-up comedy and pay the bills, I basically only knew how to do one thing, which is stand and talk. So from there, I got into the public speaking training business. And that has led me through the rest of my grown-up adult career.
Since you mentioned stand-up comedian, I find that really intriguing because, again, you're standing up in front of people, you're making people engage with you. Have you found that to be an asset for yourself?
Oh, I think it's an incredible asset. If you can write a joke, you can write anything, because unlike a lot of writing where it's flowery and descriptive and this and that, when you're writing a joke, you want to pare it down to the shortest number of words possible and get the exact right words. That's a skill. I mean, I've written 9 nonfiction books that essentially use the same skills.
Do you find yourself, the experiences you have on stage, have you baked some of that into your own writing, like your Johnny Lycan sagas?
Absolutely. I mean, everything I do has humor in it because it's my DNA, right? It's literally what I do. But what I loved about Johnny, as opposed to the historical fiction, is it's modern day. It's set in Chicago. I don't have the restrictions around what I can joke about and what I can say.
You mentioned communications a couple of times, and I'm going to spin this on you a little bit because even though I've had people on the show before that have had blogs, you're the first one I've asked about your blog. And I think I'm doing that because of your communications background. Now, would you recommend other authors do it because it's a way of maintaining contact with your audience, your readership? Has it been a tool in your tool chest?
Well, it's been a tool in my tool chest for a very long time. And most of my blog is me interviewing other authors. It's not a wildly successful blog in terms of the number of people who visit. It's been maybe the single most important thing I've done as a writer for increasing my network, finding other writers,
Well, have
scratching
you
each other's backs.
look? We're coming to the end of our duration of in time here, and I do this with all of our guests. I play a lightning round with them. I ask 4 or 5 questions. They're meant to be fun. These are questions you might not be asked on other shows. So I'm going to throw it at you and see where we go. So, are you ready to play the lightning round?
Bring it.
All right. So this is a softball. I'll get you started with an easy one. Who's your favorite comedian of all time? Knowing that you're the first stand-up comedian I've had on the show. Who's your favorite comedian of all time, and why are they your favorite?
I am going to give you an answer that you don't expect. My favorite comedian of all time is Alan King, who most people watching this won't know. But when I was a kid, the notion of a guy just standing there talking about just normal stuff was completely eye-opening to me. And he was classy, and he was just brilliant, and had a 60-year career.
Yeah, I think if I were asked that question, I would say George Carlin, even though he's probably just as anachronistic these days. He was just the wit. The wit was just incredible. Yeah. Where it took 2-3 seconds for what he said to sink in. You're like, I get it.
The thing is, what makes you laugh is as personal as it gets.
Well said. Next question. Favorite werewolf character of all time? And it can't be Johnny Lincoln.
Sadly, that would be my favorite, but Robert McCammon wrote a book called The Wolf's Hour, and it's part of Johnny Lincoln's origin story, because it's like, okay, this guy's a secret agent. He's a secret agent fighting Nazis. He's a Russian secret agent fighting Nazis. Wait, he's a werewolf Russian secret agent fighting Nazis. This is as cool as it gets.
That's cool. That's cool. Next was a little bit more serious question. And I ask this of most people because I think it's important that we all share a nugget of wisdom among authors. What is the best money that you've ever spent as an author, and why?
I went to a writing conference. I've been to several of them, but this one happened to be the Las Vegas Writers Conference. First of all, I got a lot of advice from editors and writers and that kind of thing. But the biggest thing for me is I don't believe that writing is solitary. You need to hang with writers. You need to read each other's stuff. And so the best money I ever spent was this conference, but the best thing I ever did was, from the moment I started writing fiction, was find a local writers group that would feed that part of your brain.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
All right, last question in the lightning round. You show up to a stand-up comedy routine, and you find out that it was a secret surprise party to give you a roast, and they're roasting you.
Yeah.
Who are 3 comics that you want on the stage roasting you?
The first is my dear friend and Canadian comedy legend, Kenny Robinson.
Okay.
I think if Jon Stewart wanted to be there, that would make me happy. Who else do I want? I don't know who the third one is.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, two's fine. You can say 2, and that's all. Your heart couldn't take more than 2.
That is very true.
Well, Wayne, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and where they can find your books.
I am not hard to find, as you may have figured out. Shockingly, Wayne at WayneTurmel.com is my website. You can contact me through there. I have a Facebook page, Wayne Turmel Author, and I am still clinging to Twitter/X because I am too old and cranky to learn another platform. But I'm W Turmel on Twitter/X, and I wildly encourage people to reach out. There is nothing makes my day like a cold email or DM or something from somebody that I have no idea who they are, but they enjoyed what I brought to their world for a day or two.
Look, Wayne, thank you very much for being on the Realm today. And welcome back anytime, and good luck with your next release.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, I told you, Wayne Turmel is a funny guy. He's the first comedian we've had on the show. And speaking of comics, I will be at the Pittsburgh Comic Con on June 1st and 2nd. So if you have a chance to swing by and see me, it's the first time I'll be at a Comic Con. You'll also be able to pick up my new book, The Echoes of Ghostwood, which is the final book in the 4-book Warminster saga. And again, I'll look forward to seeing you in person there. To my followers, thanks again for lending me your ear today. And until next time, I am J.V. Hilliard, and may your gods go with you.